Hi, my name's Elliot Dudley. I'm Year 6 teacher at St Bride's Major Church in Wales Primary School. I've been in St Bride's for just over 4 years, and this is my first year in Year 6. Previously, I've been in Year 5, so I was quite fortunate. I went up with my Year 5 class into Year 6. So we actually started with this project last year, and I've been able to continue it into Year 6. From a languages perspective, I've been quite fortunate to study languages quite a lot. I did A-level French and Spanish. I also did the first year of a French and Spanish degree. So I've got a sort of fairly good grasp of both of those languages. That was probably one of the big draws really to this project. Previously, I did the year before last one of the Open University modules on pedagogy and teaching of French, which I enjoyed. It was quite challenging to balance that with obviously work commitments and family, but it's definitely something I'd like to do more of in future in terms of language study. So for those reasons, really, when Marina first sent out an email with the information about this project, it was sort of caught my attention immediately. I've got friends that, back in the day did Erasmus projects, and they obviously had great experiences of those. So this is something that appealed to me. Initially, it sort of actually started with two schools. There was a school called Pleuvian and Plessis. In the end, this year I continued with the school in Plessis, but I'll tell you a little bit more about the kind of initial how the project started really for our school. Just a bit of kind of context in terms of the schools. St Bride's Major Church in Wales Primary is an English medium school, quite a small school, about 230 children on roll. We're a Shati Iyer Award awarded school, so we achieved that last summer. So that was a real positive thing for the school. So we've been working towards for a long time. In PS1 and PS2, learners focus on Spanish as our international language, and then in PS3 we do French. It seems fairly arbitrary, I guess, in terms of the divide between the two, but it was just really focusing on the strengths of our staff members. Quite a lot of our teachers teach French to a good level and a little bit of Spanish. So one of our deputy head has a French degree. We also used to have a teacher that was fluent in Italian and spoke very good French. And then we've got a teacher in the nursery who's also very strong at French. So we're quite fortunate in that respect that we have, lots of staff members that have, got a real good basic knowledge of international languages. The school that we ultimately ended up doing most of the work with is École Primaire de Plessis, which is a French language school. It's not a Breton speaking school. It's a very, very small school. It's only got 14 pupils in total, and they range from 3 to 11 years. So it was a real kind of novelty for the children in our school to kind of work with such a wide range of children in such a small school. Because it was such a small school, I worked exclusively with the head teacher and teacher there, Amandine, and managed to build up a good rapport, which is ongoing to this day. So going back to the beginning, the project started in April 2025 when I was put in touch with two schools in Brittany initially as part of the Celtico project, which Marina emailed about. It was sort of my subscription to the Central South kind of email feed that through that I got introduced to it. Quite different schools. The one school was in a place called Pleuvian. That was a nursery school, so it was exclusively 3 and 4 year olds. And then the school in Plessis, which was the very small school, which only had 14 children, all of primary age. It was quite tricky getting started initially because obviously I think it started just before the holidays, and then we had Easter holidays, which were slightly out of sync, until we actually got down to sort of getting anything done. So we only managed to do kind of one Teams kind of meeting with each school before the end of term. My class, which last year was year 5, same pupils that I have this year, we worked with the school in Plessis because they were older children. The school in Fleurbian, being nursery children, they did a short project with our reception class, who were obviously of a similar age. In terms of like the motivations, I've already talked about my own personal reasons for wanting to do the project. At the time, we were working on getting our CiW award, and I think I saw this as well as my own kind of personal motivations. I saw it as a really kind of positive way of connecting with other Celtic cultures. One of the sort of things in terms of my motivations and my expectations versus the actual reality of the initial interaction was that it kind of transpired that the schools in Brittany really their focus wasn't on Welsh or even Breton. It was their desire to learn English. So that was in our first interaction over the summer term last year. That was something not necessarily a negative, but it was something that I had to. It made me rethink my motivations, and in fact, the project wasn't actually much benefit to our CiW award because we didn't really get to share any Welsh culture, and we didn't really learn anything about Brittany or Breton. There's a few reasons for that. The Breton schools, I think most schools throughout the world want to learn English. It's a priority for them, but also because of the nature of the French school system and it kind of being a very much minority languages don't get the pride of place like they do in Wales. Fortunately, we as the relationship developed, particularly with the school in Plessis, we managed to kind of overcome that and actually ended up having some really positive experiences with regards to sharing Celtic culture. So that was really good. During that summer term, we came up with, this was all quite informal, just had a Teams meeting and various emails. But yeah, it was nothing, it was really just kind of bouncing ideas off each other. I was quite lucky that I could speak French with the two teachers in France, which helped. But they obviously, they wanted to learn English as well, so they would try their best to speak as much English as they could. Amandine and I agreed on a Guess Who game for our classes, where we sort of sent pictures and descriptions separately. So I sent my pictures of my children, and then they wrote descriptions in English. Her children wrote their descriptions in French, and we kind of did a Guess Who game, and they had to guess which description went with which child. And yeah, you can imagine the kids absolutely loved it, and there was a sort of competitive element, so that went really well. The Fleurbian, the nursery school, they sang a song for the reception class, and then the reception class sang a song for them, but that was in English because that was kind of their real focus. I'll sort of touch on it a little bit more moving forward, but Fleurbian would definitely, they really just wanted to learn English. They didn't really want to know about Welsh, whereas as we'll see, Amandine was a lot more kind of she was much more open to the kind of the sort of things that we were looking to get out of the project, which was a real positive, and I was very thankful for. As I said, it was a really positive experience for the pupils, especially year 5 children. I think they really enjoyed it. They remembered the names of the children. We'd been doing quite a lot of work in French about descriptions and describing oneself. So, they got to see the language in real life and use, their knowledge of cognates and things like that to, it was a good chance for them to actually translate in the real world, and, also get to know some children on the other side of the channel. The link with Fleurbian trailed off over the summer. I did email both schools to say it'd be great to carry on the relationship into the next academic year. And luckily, Amandine, the head teacher of Plessis, agreed, and we stayed connected over the summer. I did feel like initially that the goal was probably going to be, to share the English and the French language rather than to delve into the Celtic languages and the Welsh and the Breton, which wasn't necessarily the reason for going into the project, but it wasn't a negative thing because we study French in school, and that it's still something that we do. So that wasn't necessarily a negative. It just wasn't what we expected. So moving into the current academic year, Rena made contact in September 2025 for this project, the Developing Internationalism Through Effective Partnerships project. and obviously for me it was much simpler. I could dive straight into it. I already had a school I was linked with. There was no time to be wasted with that kind of stuff. So yeah, so that made things much easier. So I just contacted Amandine straight away, and sometimes I think sometimes with most things it's better to just be really upfront about what you want to get out of the project. And so we had some email communication over the first half term, 4 or 5 weeks, and we had a teams meeting and decided on what we were going to do. So the focus was on Wales and Welsh culture, and then also Brittany and the Breton culture. So in November 2025, we had arranged a teams meeting where my class and Amandine's school, Implicity, took it in turns to present information. Obviously, my class presented all about Wales, Welsh culture, Welsh food, the Welsh language, and then the children in Brittany presented all about their culture. And it was, I think it was great to see, great to see the children present it, and then for the kind of almost like the light bulb moments to be kind of happening right in front of you, for the sort of the children to really see, almost like simultaneously the similarities with our cultures. Even for me, I knew quite a lot about it anyway, but it really kind of some of the research that my children had done and the children in Brittany had done really kind of highlighted it. So so that was really great. I recorded that, so if Marina wants me to share that, I can share the recording of that. Obviously, you have to put up with my French, my Welsh accented French. But yeah, I've got a recording of that, so that's really useful. But yeah, so because I had the same classes last year, I think that really helped. They moved up with me to year 6, and they knew what we were doing and what it was all about. Children love sharing information about their own country, their own culture. So my class loved making their PowerPoints and putting together all the knowledge that they had, and even finding out some new facts. I think they were quite surprised by the similarities of the two cultures. The national anthem was the real big one. It's because it is literally the Breton national anthem is exactly the same as the tune is the same tune. It's exactly the same music, and then the languages are so similar that then the anthem sounds the same. One of the other things that I think really kind of jumped out to my class was the fact that there was a completely different school setup and system with only 14 children in the class, and being in one class with 11-year-olds having to sort of be in the same class as 3 and 4-year-olds. I think they found that they found that a real novelty. So it was just not something that they would ever experience necessarily in Wales. So that was a really nice thing for them to see, and to see that how schools can vary from country to country and system to system. So having spoken to Marina, and kind of asked her advice about where we could go from. I felt like the PowerPoints about the countries were great, but they were very much a kind of just scratching the surface. So Amandine and I decided that we would do, because obviously music's such a big deal in Wales, it's such a part of our culture. I thought it'd be really good to for us to teach them a song and for them to teach us a song in Breton. Also, I think we all know that it's much easier to learn something in song format compared to just especially when it comes to foreign languages. It's much easier to learn a song in another language than it is to learn anything else. So my class were fascinated by the Breton national anthem. They just thought it was great that it was the same as that it was exactly the same as the Welsh national anthem, and that they'd actually been obviously our anthem came first, and the Breton anthem was almost kind of done as a sign of friendship between Wales and Brittany. So they thought that was fascinating. So the schools the children in Implicity created an instructional video, and then we sort of shortlisted some Welsh songs that we could teach the Breton children. It was around the Eisteddfod, so we'd been doing loads of stuff in school. Every class in our school learns a different Welsh song for the Eisteddfod. So we had Ar Hyd y Nos, Sosban Fach, Oes Gavaretto. There was quite a few songs to choose from, and we agreed on Oes Gavaretto in the end because it was quite nice. It's quite fun. so it appeals to the younger children. It's also got quite a lot of repetition, and it teaches the colours. So I was kind of, often in teaching, you have an idea, but you want to, let the children sort of have their say in these things. And so I didn't actually have to direct the children down. They sort of took my line of thought and went with it. And I was really quite happy that they went with Ois Gavaretto, because I think it was the best song. But we then made an instructional video using iMovie, just to help the children in Brittany learn the song. So they're actually learning that as we speak. So I'm looking forward to hearing. Amondi's going to send me a video. Unfortunately, I don't have it now, but I'll share it with Marina once I get it. So I'm just going to play that for you now.
This is Ois Gavaretto, and we have chosen this song because it tells you the colours in Welsh, and it's very catchy and easy to learn. This is Zachary, this is Stanley, and there's Evan.
Hi, and that's Jansen. Hi, my name's Evan. So, I'm here to help with Ois Gavaretto. There might be some tricky sounds to make in Ois Gavaretto, so I'm here to help. First, a double F is and a CH is also a F makes the sound and IE makes the sound EF.
Ois Gavaretto, ois mi godro, ar y claigiau'n gewron maen, am yn coedro. Wen, ia fin, wen, foel y fan, astryd wen, ddi, ia fin, ddi, foel y fan, astryd fi a godro, ddi. Coc, ia fin coc, foel y fan, coc, astryd wen a'n cyfro, coc.
Ois Gavaretto.
Ois Gavaretto, oes mi godro ar fy craigau gefon maen her ar fy coedro. Gafr, glas, ia fin glas, foel y fan glas, just fys y fan ron, glas. Pink, ia fin pink.
So that was the video that the children made, their sort of instructional video. So they really enjoyed doing that. And as I said, we just done a load of songs, Welsh songs for the Ice Dead Gods. So it was quite fresh in their memory, which is great. So it really let them kind of direct that themselves. One of the other things that I wanted to do was sort of share what we've been doing with the whole school. It's supposed to be today, but we're actually going to do a whole school assembly tomorrow where year 6 will be sort of sharing all that they've learned about Brittany and about the project. And then they're also going to be singing the Breton national anthem for the whole school. So that'll be really cool. So they can kind of, almost kind of disseminate what they've learned and the sort of similarities in the Celtic cultures. They can share that with the rest of the school. So that's a real positive thing. I did the pupil survey, and it was really positive. I think all the kind of results that I did expect it to be positive. I think there's real kind of the outlook on languages in our school is something that we kind of instill from a very young age, that the importance of languages. We're also, a lot of our children get to go, they go on a lot of holidays. they're all quite well traveled, so I think they can really see the importance of languages. So, when we do French lessons or Spanish lessons, we have pretty good engagement in school. But yeah, I think it kind of made them a little bit more kind of motivated to learn languages. That's sort of what the survey suggests. In terms of like language around learning languages at school, it's all very positive. I think they find it fun. I also think that they can see the kind of benefits to learning languages in terms of, when they go on holiday, they can speak to people, they can help them travel to different countries, make friends, potentially, help them with jobs in the future. One of the, I guess, in terms of like appreciating new cultures, I think it's easy to kind of think that Welsh culture is just unique to Wales. And I think it provides, this project has provided like an international aspect to it, in that, Celtic culture was actually at one point was a much bigger deal than it is now. And I think, it's great for them to see that Wales is leading the way with these kind of things, and other countries potentially look to Wales as an example of how to restore Celtic culture and build it back to where it once was. I think the biggest kind of, question 8 on the survey, I would like to do projects with partner schools in other countries. Overwhelmingly they all want to do that. So I think that's kind of that sort of that question there was one I was particularly impressed with, and it shows the overall positivity, positive attitudes towards the project with the children. I did also do some interviews with a couple of the children, so I'll just play those now.
A little bit about the project that we did with the school in Brittany, which we started in autumn term, and we've been kind of carrying on up until today, really, with learning the Breton national anthem. What were you most excited or nervous about when you knew we were going to be working with children from Brittany?
I didn't know if they would understand us, and I didn't know if we would understand them in that way.
Yeah, and it was obviously it helped, didn't it, having their teacher spoke English and I spoke a little bit of French, so that helped, didn't it? But yeah, I agree, it's difficult when you're not sure if someone's understanding you, isn't it? So did you know anything about, had you heard of Brittany or the Breton language before we started the project? No, so that's good. So you definitely learned something new, a lot of new information. And we decided we were gonna, obviously we taught them Oes Gavareto, which is a song that we know really well. But when we said we were going to learn the Breton national anthem, how did you feel about that?
I thought it was quite similar to the Welsh one, and I know that pretty well. So
yeah, exactly. That makes it a bit easier, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it was quite cool to learn that the words were similar as well. What was the hardest bit in terms of learning the song, learning the anthem?
It was just the tiny bits that changed, the bit where they started to speak some Breton, and I wasn't really sure how to pronounce it. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so it's a bit like we're so used to learning the Welsh version, aren't we? That when it's in a totally different language, it's quite tricky, isn't it? So what did you enjoy most about teaching Welsh, or the song with the Oes Gavareto? What did you enjoy most about teaching the other school about that song?
It's just that I really like the song, so it's pretty easy to sing it.
Yes, if you know it well, and you're confident, it's much easier, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. Do you remember any of the words? I know we said a lot of the words were similar, weren't they? The Breton words and the Welsh words. Do you remember any of the words in Breton that were quite similar to the Welsh words?
I can't remember them off the top of my head, but the tune was definitely.
What about some of the, in the language presentation that I think Alice's group did? What words, do you remember if there was any words that were really similar in Breton, not necessarily the anthem?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure bread. I'm pretty sure somewhere around there where when we were doing it, Alice mainly did that slide.
Yeah.
So I didn't really look at it that well.
You're right about bread though, yeah, because bread is bara in both languages, wasn't it? Yeah. And what was the colour for white?
Gwyn.
Yeah, it was gwyn in both, wasn't it? Yeah, so well done for remembering that. When we were learning about the children in Brittany and life in Brittany, what surprised you? Did you feel like it was similar to us, or was it different?
I felt it was pretty similar, like the coastlines and everything look pretty similar,
Yeah,
apart
yeah.
from mainly the food. But
The food was different, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, yeah. But you're right, the coastline's really similar. Yeah, I agree. Looks a lot like kind of Pembrokeshire, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Did anything surprise you about the other school and the other children?
I didn't. It surprised me like how little the schools really were,
Yeah,
because like there was only like 7 kids and like they were all from different years.
yeah. There's 14 children in the whole school,
Yeah.
and they go all the way from nursery up to the equivalent of
Yeah.
year 6. So we don't really have many schools like that here, do we?
No.
So yeah, I agree. That was really cool. What was your favourite thing then in terms of the project? What was your favourite thing that we did?
It was probably the bit in year 5, like where we matched them up to their photos.
Yeah, that was really good, wasn't
Yeah.
it? The Guess Who game. Yeah,
Yeah.
I enjoyed that as well. If we could do something to carry on the project, what would you like to do?
I don't know, maybe like make like a leaflet about our country and then like somehow send it over to them.
Yeah, so like make something like a hard copy or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll have to think about that. Awesome. Well, thanks for your time, Fionn. Right, afternoon, Ev. Just going to have a little chat about the project that we did with the school in Brittany.
Yeah.
So, yeah, look forward to hearing your answers. What were you most excited or nervous about when working with the pupils from another country?
Oof, that's a good question. Probably I was most excited about being able to meet people from different countries and learn their names and like what were their hobbies.
Yeah, so you wanted to learn just more about them generally.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Had you heard of Brittany or the Breton language before the project?
No, I never knew there was a part in France called Brittany. I also didn't know that only 5% of Bretons actually speak the language Breton.
That's a really good fact, Ev.
Yeah,
I actually learned that during the project as well. So yeah, compared to Wales, it's quite a minority language, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we've been learning the Breton national anthem. What were your thoughts on the Breton national anthem?
When I first heard it, I was like, that sounds like the Welsh national anthem. But later I learned that it was a sign of friendship between the two countries.
What was the most difficult thing in terms of learning that anthem? What did you find most tricky with it?
Probably fitting all the words into the beat.
Yeah. Did you find that your knowledge of the Welsh version kind of made it almost more difficult? Did you find yourself wanting to sing the Welsh version instead of the Breton version at all?
Yeah, I was like, I should really be singing the Welsh version, but it was like, I'm like, this feels different.
Yeah.
It's different.
So what, in terms of teaching, we did a presentation all about Wales and the Welsh language. What was the thing that you enjoyed most about teaching the children in Brittany about Welsh culture and Welsh language? What enjoyment did you get out of that?
I liked the knowledge that someone in Brittany would actually like take from this thing lesson, I suppose it is, that like there's actually like a country exactly like theirs, all like.
No, I know what you're trying to say. Yeah,
away?
yeah, we're a long way away, aren't
Yeah.
we? But we've got real similarities. Yeah,
Yeah.
And I noticed that when I went to Brittany a few years ago. A lot of the place names are really similar, and the language is super similar. Do you remember any of the words or phrases from Breton at all?
Can't think of any off the top of my head, but I think I could.
That's all right. Do you remember the one? I remember Alice talked about it in her presentation that she's doing in worship tomorrow. It was the word for bread. Do you remember what it was?
Barra.
Yeah, so that was one of the ones that was the same.
Baragwyn.
Yeah, Baragwyn, exactly.
White
Yeah,
bread.
exactly. Yeah, well done. So we obviously learned a little bit about the similarities and differences between our culture and the culture in Brittany. What were your main takeaways from that? Did you think that we were really similar or we were completely different? Do you think there was more similarities or more differences?
Probably both. Probably both are quite balanced because we like Brittany has like the red and black. So men wear red and black on like traditional days, and so do men in here in Wales, I think.
Yeah. So the traditional dresses were really similar, weren't they?
Yeah. They were.
What else did you think was really similar?
Really similar. The national anthem.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be very similar. I think the traditional dress as well, because like there's only one colour that's been changed, and that was the white. Change that to red and put a few daffodils on there. It would look indistinguishable from the Welsh ladies, like the traditional ones.
Yeah. So in terms of, in the future, what is there anything you would like to do to progress the project that we could do maybe differently in the future? What would you like to see in the future in terms of working with a school in Brittany? What kind of things would you like to do?
I think I'd quite like to maybe get to know some of them. Like maybe we could go on a school trip over to there, or they could come over here, and we could just like get to know each other in real life.
Yeah, so actually, I think that's a really good idea. Yeah, to kind of build more of a personal relationship with the children. That would be really good. How could we do that in a way without us having to travel? Because obviously, I'd love to go to Brittany, but how could we do that in a way where we can, without traveling? What could we do with the school?
Yeah, maybe we could have like a session where we just get to know each other, try to learn each other's languages.
Yeah, in terms of on a personal level, what could we do with the children in the school in Brittany? How could we get to know them better? What did they used to do before FaceTime?
Oh, we could be pen pals.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you've just made that's a really good thought, actually. That was kind of what I was thinking. But yeah, thanks, Evan. Thanks for your thoughts, and appreciate your time.
Thank you.
So I guess in terms of the impact of the project, I think it really highlights the different status of Celtic culture and languages in different places. I think we take for granted in Wales sort of the level of prominence that the Welsh language has, and I think not everyone is necessarily in favour of that. But if you see the flip side of it in countries in sort of areas like Brittany, where it's sort of an endangered language, I think if that's the alternative, I think it really kind of puts a different view on the promotion of the Welsh language in Wales and how successful that's been. So I think it shed the real positive light on what we're doing in Wales. And I'd like to think that places like Brittany would look to Wales and think, actually we want to do this in our area as well. It also kind of highlights the importance of Welsh and the Celtic culture throughout history. Going back to the Bronze Age and the pre-Roman age. So I think it really kind of highlights how prominent Celtic culture was at one point in Europe. And yeah, it's definitely created a connection with our school and the school in Brittany with the Plesidi. I think I'd like to continue the relationship with the two schools, and I know Amandine, the head teacher of that school, feels the same. So that's a real positive thing. So in terms of like next steps, the relationship between our schools is ongoing. Evan mentioned in the interview about kind of getting to know the pupils a little bit better, and I know some of the other schools in this project have done kind of pen pal projects. So I think that's definitely something I'd like to explore a little bit more. The big challenge really throughout the project is the time it takes to do these things. It's like your education systems are sort of slightly out of sync, and when everything's going back and forth via email, it does take a little bit longer than you'd like. But yeah, that's definitely something I'd go to Amandine and ask about in the future, potentially writing to each other in our respective languages. And yeah, I'd love to arrange a school trip to Brittany, but I fear that may be a bit of a pipe dream, but you never know. So that's really all I've got to say about the project. It's very positive. For me, it's really kind of I guess kind of reinvigorated my kind of love for languages and my desire to share it with my the children in my class. And as a school, it's been a really positive experience. So merci beaucoup. Thanks for listening. Diolch, and hope that's been some help.